Hey everyone, Cable's Antique Book Collective, and today we're getting to you guys with the live. As promised, I'm here. I know I'm a day late, not a dollar short, luckily, but as I explained in my previous thing, I had some tech difficulties. As it turns out, YouTube doesn't love me all the time. So with that said and done, though, guys, this is the Q&A video. You guys can ask whatever questions you like. I understand that not everyone's going to be able to show up because, again, I am a day late, but I'm hoping that you guys will be able to show up, as many of you as you can, and ask all the questions that you would like. So with that said and done, I'm going to try to be here as long as I can. I got myself a drink. I got myself a couple other things so I can stay hopefully a little bit longer. I'm hoping to stay here until either my voice gives out, my internet gives out, or something else. So with that said and done, though, guys, I'm going to just wait for you guys to say your stuff in the Q&A section, and I'll answer as many of those questions as I possibly can. Let me adjust my camera really quick. Sorry for this, guys. As you can tell, it's live. Obviously, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes in this. I'm going to try to make sure all the info is as correct as I can make it. But again, on me, I'm not perfect. So with that said, though, guys, I'm trying to share all these things as much as I can on Facebook and on the YouTubes, all that sort of stuff, to make sure that as many of you guys as I can, of course, know about this. I think I have everything squared away, though. So with that said, at long last, we are finally getting to you guys with the live video. Before I really dive in and start answering a lot of questions, though, even though no answers have shown up just yet, because, again, I'm early, and a lot of people, they wait 5 minutes before they start the video. I want to make sure we get to this right away for the people that show up on time. But with that said, though, guys, I do want to just address the giveaway video that I have made previously. Be sure to check that out, guys. There's not a lot of entries in it just yet, so if you guys do want to have an entry to win a few free books, these here are the free books behind me. I might show them later on if you guys ask, but those are some of the books that I'm giving away for free once we hit the 1,000 subscriber mark, because that's something I really wanted to celebrate. So, guys, these books right here, they're not worth $5 million, unfortunately, but some of them are worth a little bit. And for a lot of you guys who are brand new to reselling, or even if you've been doing it for a little bit, I mean, it's hard to say no to some free antique books. So with all that said and done, though, guys, let me adjust the camera one more time, make it a little more straight. And now, with that done, I just want to address some of the common questions that I normally get asked on this channel, because, again, I am waiting for you guys to ask your questions down in the Q&A section. I have it pulled up on my computer, which is on my right, and I also have it on my phone over on my left, just to make sure that I do not miss anything. Of course, there's always a chance that it might mess up, because sometimes things get angry, but this is what I've got set up. So with all that said and done, guys, the first question I get asked the most often, and again, guys, ask your questions live, and I'll answer as many of those as I can, but the question I get asked the most often is actually like, what is my book worth? What is this book worth? What is this one? This one? I get asked that like on the daily sometimes. And it's sort of funny because a lot of the times people will ask me what their book is worth, and let's just grab a random book off the shelf. So this is actually probably the best random book I can grab. So this is one of the giveaway books, guys. But this one right here, it is Die Bible, which is the Bible, but in German. Someone will ask me, hey, what's my Bible worth? What do you mean? And people will ask me these things all the stinking time. And it's funny because for me, I've like addressed this in a lot of videos of, hey, you guys can find out the value of your book yourself if you just type in the title, the author. In the Bible's case, it's a little hard to do the author, so maybe skip that one, maybe do the publisher instead. So the American Bible Society is actually one of the more common things that I find are Bibles that I come across that are antique Bibles, and those American Bible Society, Bibles are generally pretty valuable as well, so I really like those. But something that I find with those particular Bibles is that they are going to vary on, obviously, the year that they come out, and that's the third thing that I tell people they need to look up when they are trying to figure out what their book is worth. They have to find the year of their particular book. So guys, in this Bible's case, let's just open it on up. This, again, guys, is something I get asked all the time, and it really is something 99.9% of you guys can actually figure out on your own, which is pretty stinking cool. So on this Bible, the year that it's printed is down here at the bottom of the title page. It's 1907. However, sometimes they won't have that there, and they will actually have it on the copyright page right after, but this one does not have it there. But with that said, though, guys, every now and then there is a Bible or a book or whatever you want to have that you know the title, you know the author, you know the date it's printed, and you still can't find it. And I've addressed this. I actually have a whole playlist on it, guys, about sometimes you do have to go with your gut. Sometimes you're able to not just check on eBay and you're able to just check out Google at large. And that is something that's very nice to do, and it can definitely save you some time. But let's face it, guys, sometimes there are some books that are so rare that no one else is selling it. I've had that happen with quite a few foreign language books that I deal in, especially because when you're trying to type out something that is, like, say, in Japanese, it doesn't really translate directly over to English. Same thing for, like, German, the different languages that have all the accents and umlauts and all the other random dots and lines that they put above different words. That is something that can generally be a little problematic when you guys are trying to look up your different books. So, of course, that does impact things. But at the end of the day, I'm using the same tools a lot of you guys are using to try to look these books up. So if you can't find it, odds are I can't find it. So all of that carries back over to what I was mentioning earlier. Sometimes you do have to go with your gut, and it's a lot easier to go with your gut once you've been doing book reselling for a long time. So I totally understand when people reach out to me to ask that. I actually have a Facebook community that you guys can ask, and a lot more people are able to help you on that. Whereas me, I'm just little old me, and I got like 15 other things going on, so I'm not always able to get to you guys right away. But with that said, sometimes you have to go with your gut. And for me, I have a couple rules of thumb, sort of, for a lot of the books that I deal in. And honestly, there are a lot of books that it's like, okay, I actually have zero idea whatsoever what this book is worth. I've never come across this and this and such a book, So because of that, sometimes I actually end up going and being like, okay, well, I know at the very minimum this book's worth $10, so maybe I just have to ask for $10 for this book because I can't find any other information on it. And sometimes, guys, that's something you have to do. And yeah, it might sting because you might think your book might be worth a lot more, but let's face it, if you think your book's worth a whole lot more, ask for a whole lot more. Sometimes you just have to throw something at the wall and see what sticks, if you will. Take the shotgun approach, whatever you want to call it. You can just take as many shots as you want, take as many shots as you can, and just see what eventually has your thing sell. That is something that sometimes you have to do in business. Sometimes you don't know everything. Let's face it, I don't know basically anything, because I've seen some like hardcore antique booksellers that like do this for a living and they're passionate about it and they like know everything about everything. Guys, when I saw like my first few videos of people talking about those things, I was just like, man, I am a barbarian. What have I done? I don't even know that or that or that or that or that. And it's funny because, like, for me, I've been doing antique book selling for years now. Like, legitimately, I've been selling antique books for like 5 years. So I know that's not too long, but if you're my age, I'm not even 25 yet. So if you're my age, 5 years is a good amount of time. So it's like been my entire professional career I've been selling antique books. And yet there are these other people that have been doing it for decades potentially, and they just know the ins and outs about everything, and they know a few different foreign languages. And I'm just sitting here like, whoo, I am a barbarian, as I mentioned earlier. But with that said, though, guys, sometimes, again, I do have to go out and I look these things up myself. Other times I do have to just go off of my gut, what I feel, all that sort of stuff. So I hope that answer sort of is helpful for those of you that have that question. The reason why I wanted to get that one right out the gate is, again, because I get asked that one so stinging often, and I really just wanted to fully chase that rabbit, kick that dog, if you will, and address all that. And now that I've addressed that, I also want to say that I need to do sound check really quick. So excuse me as I do that really quick. So, all right, yeah, it looks like we have good audio. Yep. All right. So with that said, sorry for that little lapse right there. Just had to make sure everything was kosher because I don't want to be talking to nobody and not making any sound. That's another reason why I have it on my phone. So back to the question and answer thing, guys, I just want to again address that question right out of the gate just to make sure that one's answered. And with that said, I do want to say that I don't want to address any more of those questions in this live stream. I don't want to tell you guys exactly what I think your book might be worth. I might do that a couple of times through this live stream. If enough of you guys start asking, please don't ask though. But yeah, I understand that some people will have that question. As such, I might address it, but it's really hard to address these things when I cannot see the book, when I can't feel the book. Guys, it's really hard to be like, okay, your book is worth X much if I've never been within 1,000 miles of it, honestly. So with all that said, though, please be sure to ask other reselling related questions. If you guys want to learn about basically anything eBay reselling, I can at least give it a shot of answering. I can try to give you guys the best answer that I can. Of course, I don't resell like dolls. I don't resell bowls, all that sort of stuff. So I might not be able to tell you guys exactly what those sort of things are like, what it's like selling those things on eBay. But I have sold other things on eBay other than just books. I've sold things other than just antique books. So I am able to address a lot of the different questions that I'm sure a lot of you guys have. So be sure to ask those questions in the live stream, live chat sort of thing. If you guys are on the computer, the live stream thing should be right there, and if you're on mobile, it's down below. So with that said, though, guys, again, just feel free to ask those questions. Drop a like, also make sure that more people can see this, because I, of course, am not doing this on my normal video release day. Obviously, I'm not expecting everyone to show up, but this is my first foray, if you will, into live streaming, and we'll see how everyone likes it, all that sort of stuff. So with that said, as I wait for another question to come in, guys, I just want to address a couple other random eBay questions that I get. So first things first, how do I ship out the books that I ship out? I've had a few people ask that sort of thing. And I actually ship my books out in a way that a lot of my buyers really, really enjoy. So guys, how I ship my books out is I'm going to just keep grabbing this Bible all day, I guess. I'll just set it right here for later. The way that I ship out my books, guys, is I actually get butcher paper, and I wrap my books individually as often as I can. When I am shipping out large sets of books and the books are not valuable whatsoever, generally I don't wrap them individually. But if I'm doing just one book in a shipment, I will wrap these books individually, believe it or not, and I'll wrap them, and then I'll tape them up. I don't put the tape on the book itself. I put the tape on the butcher paper. Make sure you don't put tape on the book, or else it'll rip up the leather, the paper, whatever it is. But that's something that I personally do, is I wrap them, and then I take them, I pack butcher paper down at the bottom of the box that I put them in. I put them in boxes, guys, because I do antique books. A lot of antique books are a little more fragile, and as such, you don't want to put them in a padded envelope, because there's a good chance they will get damaged, especially with some of the more fragile antique books out there with the really, really breakable paper. I can't think of the right word for that, but sometimes you'll see that happen with the older books, is the brittle. There we go. Sometimes the paper will get quite brittle as time goes on. So that's another reason why I like to individually wrap them, is it makes sure that nothing gets in, like the butcher paper I wrap it in, pack it with, doesn't get in there and break up the paper. It doesn't fold the covers out, all that sort of stuff. The wrapping of the book is a very it's a little bit of a safety play on my side of things, to make sure that the books do not get damaged whatsoever, which is something that I think is quite important. So besides that, I pack the things into a box with butcher paper all around, and then I actually give a lot of the books, the boxes, actually, I give them a good jiggle beforehand, just to make sure that there's no play going on in there, or if there is any play of the book moving around, it doesn't move around so much that the book should get damaged. Because again, guys, that is something that can happen, especially with antique books that are more fragile. So that is how I personally like to pack my books up. I do use boxes. I do not recommend using padded envelopes. Of course, I'm sure you guys can use padded envelopes if you want to do it. There are plenty of people that do it, especially with newer media items, such as a video game or a newer paperback book. I got some paperback books over yonder. Obviously, people don't expect those things to come to you pristine, because we've all been acclimated, if you will, to just books getting destroyed in mailing, because everyone puts them in the padded envelope. So you can buy a brand new book and it can come folded in half, just because that's how that sort of works sometimes. So that is another reason why I like to put my books into boxes, is it sort of almost fends off against the people who want to fold up a package and shove it in the mailbox. When you have a box, it's a little harder to fold a box. So that's the reason why I like to pack my books the way that I pack them. And again, I'm just setting the Bible right here for later, because I'm sure I'm going to have more questions that I'm going to address with that. And with that said, taking my first drink of the day. So excuse me for a hot second. Ooh, thank you. So as I was saying, guys, I just have a lot of different questions that I already have sort of picked out that I will be addressing until people start asking the questions in the live stream. Again, I understand that not everyone is going to be able to catch this live, so I'm sorry for that. I tried to do this video yesterday. I did all the announcements, all that sort of stuff, and it ended up not working out whatsoever for me, which is an absolute bummer, but hey, that's sort of what you get sometimes. So with that said, checking the live stream sort of thing right now, making sure sound is still good, because end of the day, I don't want to be talking to nobody, as I said. Yep, there we go, still got sound, and back onto the main event. So guys, oh, sorry, need another drink. Got a frog in my throat, or an old book, I don't know. So guys, with all that said, I've addressed the what is my book worth? I've addressed how do I pack my books. So now I'm just going to hop on to how do I list my books, because that's another thing that I've had a lot of people wonder about. I've had a lot of questions about, all that sort of thing. So guys, listing books, how I list my books is actually quite easy at the end of the day. When I take photos of my books, I try to get as many photos as I can, because there's a lot of other booksellers, especially antique books. Sorry, especially newer booksellers. Antique booksellers, I think, get it a little bit more, because we're all like, okay, antique books are very likely to look very different by the time that I finally get my hands on it. So guys, when I'm taking photos of my books, I like to get a picture of the front cover. Sometimes I even have my first cover photo look like this, so you can see a little bit of the spine and the front cover. It looks a little bit more artsy, I think, but I try to get a photo of the front, the spine. Guys, make sure you get a photo of the spine, because the spine on a lot of antique books, guys, if you are doing newer books, it's not necessarily required. If you're doing like mass market paperbacks where the spines normally get like really creased, you might want to do it. But for me, I like to get a photo of my spine, because spines on antique books can get quite sun bleached. And then I also get a photo of the back cover. The covers, guys, I like to get photos of just because people want to know what their book will look like if they are handling it. In addition to that, I try to get a shot of the text block. So this Bible's probably not the best example, but as you can see, here's the text block. I try to get a photo of roughly this angle-ish, so people can see what the text block's condition looks like, all that sort of thing. I also sometimes will get a photo of how it looks like right around here, looking from the spine. Oh, I saw you guys getting blinded off that gold. How it looks like from the spine onto the text block. Sometimes it shows that the pages are pulling away. If they're pulling away, that can definitely damage the value of your book. So with that said, I also get a picture of the title page. Here's the title page, and I get a photo of the copyright page, because again, guys, I'm doing antique books, and people want to know when the book came out, when it was printed, all that sort of stuff. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes that print year is actually on the title page. In the case of this Bible, it is. So that's one of the reasons why I try to get a photo of each. In addition to that, the title page actually has important information, as does the copyright page. And then for me, when I'm listing, I also try to just get a random photo of some random page in the book. Sometimes I'll do illustrations. Oftentimes, if there is an illustration, I'll get at least one photo of it. And then I will get a photo of, let's say this is laying flat on my table. I will try to get a photo basically at roughly this angle, so people, again, can see the quality of the binding of the book, because the binding in books does definitely deteriorate with age. So with that said, that's the things that I get photos of when I'm listing these books. Once I have all the photos, I make sure that my title is all correct. I make sure that everything's kosher on that end of things, because people want to have a good title. That's how you find the books. I don't personally do subtitles. You can pay, I think it's like $2, currently at least, to get the subtitle on your eBay listing, to make sure that your subtitle is exactly what you want it to be, and get a few more keywords in there. I don't personally use those, and I have some pretty good sales on my eBay store. I'm not worried whatsoever about it. I actually do not make a full-time income off of this business currently, because guys, I don't put in full-time work. I put in maybe 3 hours a week tops, and I make roughly $100 an hour. And guys, even when I ramp up to do this business full-time, I still am able to make at least $100 an hour. That, I know that sounds grandiose, I know that sounds extreme, but guys, I am able to make that kind of money because antique books sell very well. Guys, my average sale price when I'm doing this business, as I recommend in this channel, is about $70 per book. That's my average sales price, which means obviously that I sell books that are higher than that, and I sell books that are lower than that. Guys, it's not that actually insane to think that you can actually get sort of revenue like that off of this business, because guys, at the end of the day, I have antique books that an individual book is worth a few $100s. Of course, there are other antique books that are worth $1, and I don't normally sell those. Sometimes if I have them in my store, I might be like, fine, I got nothing to list today, so I might list this one. But by and large, I actually focus on the more expensive books. That is the bread and butter of my business. And I see that I have a few more viewers right now. Guys, feel free to ask in the live chat below. If you're on mobile, it's over there. If you're on your computer, it should be over there. Might be over there if we're crazy, but we'll see. But guys, feel free to ask your questions. But back to what I was saying about listing. So guys, when you guys are listing your books, if you want to do it like me, I try to get the title, try to get the keywords that are important into the title. So what things are important for the title for your listing. So obviously the title of your book is important. I find that the year your book was printed is also quite important to put in as well, because end of the day, especially with Bibles, guys, you can't just type in Bible and expect to get the exact Bible that you want. You have to type in the year. So people if you're buying a brand new Bible, yeah, you can just type in Bible. But if you want to buy a Bible from the 1800s, you have to type in 1800s. And as such, if you're listing it, you want to make sure that the 1800s is mentioned in the title. Now, if your book is from 1894, don't write 1894 1800s. That's a little excessive. Yeah, you might get a sale off of that, but it is a little bit excessive. I think eBay's user interface sort of understands the difference or similarities between those two right now. But besides that, I try to get the title, the year. I also get the author. Sometimes if I have room left over, I will put in the publisher. I'll put in how the book is bound. Is it hardcover, leather cover, all that sort of thing. Basically, you try to fill up that space as much as you can. Don't put in stupid stuff because, let's face it, stupid stuff won't help you sell. But try to put in all the important stuff that you can. For me, if I have a title that is incredibly long, I've had some books, guys, that the title is like 6 lines or something like that. Obviously, you can't fit all those words in on your title. So I'll put in like the first little bit of the thing, and then I'll do like a ... to show that the title continues on, but I don't have room to put it in. So that is something that I personally do on my listings. Once we have that down, I go to the condition sort of thing. You have to type in the condition of your book. Well, actually, if we're being completely honest, you do have to fill out a whole bunch of like item details, but I'm going to skip over all that because I think you guys can understand the item details. You can just pull all that information from the book itself. So all the way down to the condition thing, I try to do just a nice little overview of the condition of the book. So I say, book is in great condition overall for its age or something like that, or book is in rough condition, or book is ex-library, book is good condition, depending on that sort of thing. When you're dealing with the antique books, guys, you don't normally see well, actually, you don't have the ability to click, is my book good, very good, like new, all that sort of stuff. You actually just have to type in whatever you want to type in. So that's why I type in the things the way I do. I try to stick to the rules for good, very good, that sort of thing when I'm doing this, but sometimes I do keep it a little more vague and I say it looks great, because sometimes your book does look great for its age, and it's sort of hard to say, well, if we're going off this rule, this book is only acceptable condition because right here on the butt of my Bible, it's inbound ribbon, its inbound bookmark is in tatters. So, I mean, technically it's only acceptable. It's got a chunk out here. I mean, it's either good or it's acceptable. It's not good, but I mean, for a book that's over 100 years old, that is a lot more impressive. And as such, I'll be more inclined to say the book looks great, that sort of thing. And I will actually steer away from saying good, very good, that sort of thing. And that I've seen a few other people doing it that way. However, I've seen a lot of antique booksellers that don't even fill in that condition detail sort of thing. And then after I say what I say in that little bit, I say, see the description and photos for details. I always want to make sure that I mention that because a lot of people, as I mentioned earlier, they will not like take photos of the book. So I want to steer more attention towards the photos that I take of these books because, guys, photos take time to take. So I want people to know what the thing looks like. I want them to know that I took the time to list these books properly. And once I have that condition thing, I do the description. Guys, when I'm doing my description, sometimes I do like a little disclaimer thing at the very top. I don't write disclaimer, but like for this book, I would write, book is a German Bible. And because there are going to be people that are going to buy this at some point, not this one, obviously, because this is part of the giveaway, but there are going to be books at some point, guys, that someone buys it and they didn't read that disclaimer thing and they'll be like, and they'll get angry. There are a lot of people that don't read things before they buy them. So I like to have a little disclaimer, if you will, at the top of things. The other books that I do are ex-library books. So I'll say in the first line, guys, this book is an ex-library book. It has all the usual stamps, markings, all that sort of stuff. I'll do things like that sometimes if the book like really warrants that. Besides that, I like to have a little paragraph where I describe the cover. So in the case of this book, guys, I would be like, okay, cover's in great shape for its age. There's a chunk missing out of the spine. And there is some shelf wear, as you guys can see. Along the hinge, there is, the hinge is actually in pretty good shape, so I might not even mention the hinge, but if there are issues with the thing, I will be sure to mention those issues so the buyer knows what they're getting into, what they're dealing with, all that sort of stuff. So guys, that is something that I personally like to do, like to address all that sort of stuff. And then once I address the cover, what the condition the cover's in, all that sort of jazz, I like to address the text block itself. So the text block is obviously the pages. I like to say how the binding is. I like to say the very first line I do actually is all pages are present, none are loose, or all pages are present, signature is loose, or 5 pages are loose, or something like that. I'll be sure to mention that just so people, again, know what they're getting into. Besides that, I address if there is any writing or underlining or anything like that in this book, because again, guys, that is something that does happen. That is a potential issue that you have. So with that said, I then hop on down to the down to the shipping side of things. I actually have my scale set up over there, and I have my scale. I weigh my thing out, and then I figure out how much it'll weigh inside of the box that I'll ship it out in, and then I type that in. I do buyer pays shipping actually for my business. If you guys are doing antique books, a lot of the times, like I would say 90% of the time, buyer paid shipping is actually totally normal for all these sorts of things. So don't feel bad about charging your buyer shipping for that sort of stuff. Again, guys, feel free to ask questions in the live chat. I am monitoring that, so I'll be able to address your questions. But back to what I was saying earlier, I have buyer paid shipping. Then once I do that, I fill all that stuff out. I make sure that international shipping is actually available nowadays. I don't even know if you have to do that anymore on eBay to accept it or not. But guys, I make sure that all the international shipping stuff is all set up, all squared away, because international shipping, guys, I have so many sales that go through international shipping nowadays. I've had books before international shipping really became a big thing on eBay, guys. I actually had some books. I had a set of encyclopedias, the Encyclopedia Britannica. I believe it was their padded leather set. Guys, if you haven't seen the padded leather set, it's beautiful. It's all black and they're all padded leather. Beautiful set. But guys, I actually had someone in Greece who was like, so what would shipping be for these books to Greece? And I'm like, respond, yeah, it's going to be a whole lot. Let me check right now. And he's like, yeah, I would love to find out. And guys, when I figured it out, it was like $1,600 or something like that. In the set, I want to say I was selling the set for like $400. So it was actually multiples of what the book set was actually worth. And the guy was obviously like, whoa, I can't afford that one. And it was funny. I think I even mentioned in the message I sent the guy, I was like, listen, it's actually cheaper for me to buy a plane ticket and fly over there with the books than it is for me to ship the books into you. Like, that's how crazy expensive it was for shipping. But now that eBay's international program thing is really popping and it's really doing well, there's a lot more international sales that aren't getting charged like exorbitant, insane numbers. And I am having a lot more international sales coming in, which is very stinking nice. But as I was saying, that's something else I make sure I have all checked out when I am listing my books, is the international shipping side of things. Because again, I have a lot of buyers, guys, that come in on those international shipping things. So it's a great way to get some extra revenue. Highly recommend that you guys do international shipping if you can. It's really nice because back in the day, you actually had to fill out all the customs paperwork yourself. Now eBay deals with that. I think they have you send, for me at least, it all goes to Glendale Heights, Illinois, I believe. That's where like 99% of them go. I think they used to have somewhere else. I can't remember off the top of my head where it was, but I thought there was another place that they used to have me ship things out, but that's where I ship them out now. So again, guys, I have a lot of places, shipments that go international. Greece, I think, is one of my top ones, believe it or not, for international. I don't sell very many to the UK, believe it or not. I've sold a few to France. I've sold a couple to Australia. I sell them all over the world. I think South Africa might be one of the furthest ones I've done. I don't know. Since I live on the West Coast, I think South Africa is actually further from me than Australia is. I don't know exactly. I could pull up Google, but that's not important. But with that said, though, guys, once I have all that stuff filled out on my listing, I then hop on down to the promoted listing thing. I like to promote my listings, and I like to promote my listings at the recommended eBay thing that they say. They don't put that number in for no reason. So if they say you should do 12%, I like to do 12%. Not telling you guys what to do per se, but that's what I like to do, because that number, man, talking too fast. That number generally is pulled from all the other sellers that are selling your particular item, and that's why eBay tells you to pay that much for your promotion. It's so you actually show up above these other people or with these other people. If it recommends to do 12%, you do 2%, which is the minimum, you're probably not going to show up, or if you do show up, it'll be way, way down. So you're a lot less likely to get the sale. So once that's all done, I actually go over everything once again, and then I submit my listing, I make it live, and then I actually view my listings after I do it. Because guys, I've had a couple of eBay glitches lately, and I actually have gone in and I've started checking all my things as I list them. It does add 10 seconds, 30 seconds of time, depending on how quick my interweb is. But I actually do have to check them now because eBay's had a couple annoying glitches lately. I've mentioned that in a couple posts and in a video. I've mentioned it. But yeah, that's something that's been happening. So with that said, though, that's basically what I go over when I'm listing these books. So I hope that was helpful for you guys that are brand new to the business, because again, listing books on eBay it's a bit of a stretch for a lot of people who are brand new to this. eBay, I actually find, is one of the easier things to list on. There are a lot harder of sites to list on. And if you guys are doing it like I do, it is a little more advanced. You are addressing a lot more things. You do need to know some of the lingo about antique books. But at the end of the day, guys, I started this business like out of high school without like any experience whatsoever on this. So like if absolute idiot out of high school can do it. I'm pretty sure you guys can do it if you guys are watching. According to eBay, most of my subscribers and viewers are actually in like 35 and onwards. So you guys have lived a little more life. You know a couple more words. You're probably a little sharper than me. So you guys definitely have that going for you. So with that said, just checking some things out, checking the sound check right quick, just to make sure everything's good. Yep, sound is still good. Excuse me as I keep checking my phone throughout this because that's where I got my live chat pulled up, that and on the computer. So with that said, guys, again, be sure to check out the live chat, be sure to drop a like, all that sort of thing. Make sure that this video gets out to as many people as you would like. Ask whatever questions you want to have asked about book selling on eBay or just selling it on eBay in general, because guys, I have been doing it long enough that I've sold more than just books. Books are the main thing that I sell, but I have sold a couple other things. I've even sold paper towel dispensers, and door handles, and I've sold all sorts of random things on eBay in addition to all the books that I do deal in. Books, guys, again, are the main focus of my business. As you can tell, this is my shelf of mostly things I'm selling or things that I'm showing off in this case. So obviously I do sell a lot more books. Guys, I actually want to apologize though about this little shelf. I just got a new postal scale, and by new, I mean new to me. It's actually like from the 1800s, so hopefully I'll have that one pop up in some later videos, but I did want to have that up for the live stream, and I didn't. That's a bummer. But yeah, this postal scale, guys, it's probably from the 1800s, I'd say. It's cool because you could sort of guess the age on a lot of things based on the screws they use. Way back when, I believe it's like before World War II or something like that, they actually used flathead screws for all these different things. And this particular scale has the flathead screws. But after World War II, around that time, maybe a little bit before, maybe a little bit after, I don't know the exact year, but they actually changed to the plus size shaped ones. Those are called Phillips heads because those, you're able to get a little more torque on them, and it's a lot easier to screw those in. Because if you guys have ever done a flathead one, you know that your screwdriver will slip out of the little slit a whole lot more easy. So that's something that I think's a little neat about this one, is it helps you date how old these things are. And in addition to that, on antiquities, generally there is going to be a let's see, a patent number or something like that, a part number that you can actually Google yourself and figure out roughly what things, how old it is as well. If you guys are selling antique books or just vintage things or antiques in general, those sort of things can be very helpful to help you gauge how old your thing is. And based on how old it is, sometimes you can gauge what your thing is worth or is not worth. So this particular scale, guys, it's funny because I can't find any exact scales like it, but there are similar ones that are selling for between like $100 on the low end and like $600 on the higher end. So it's neat to think that I got my hands on one. And since I do antique books, since I ship via the U.S. Postal Service, and this is an old U.S. Postal Service scale, I think it'll be fun to definitely have that set up. I'll probably have it down here down the road, just because, again, guys, I think it's a pretty cool thing. And honestly, if you guys really want to see it, I might go grab it just for the sake of grabbing it and showing it off. But again, guys, feel free to ask whatever questions you have in the live chat, because that's what I'm here for. It's a live Q&A, so ask whatever questions you have. So with that said, on to the next question that I hear quite often for books. Actually, I hear quite a few random questions all the time for books, but let's just address actually a random one instead of a more common one. So guys, a more random one that I've gotten about books is like, can you gauge how old a book is based on the handwriting in it? Because there are plenty of books, especially from the turn of the century, guys. Just a pro tip, if you have a book that looks old, but not like insanely old, it looks like it's maybe 100 years old, it's a lot easier to gauge how old a book is roughly based on how it looks once you've been doing it for a few years. But let's say you have a book that looks really old, you open it up and it doesn't have a print date. A good rule of thumb that I go off of for this business, guys, is if it doesn't have a date and it looks like a certain vintage, I actually am like, okay, this book is probably from the turn of the century. Guys, for me, the books printed between like 1880 and about 1910, for some reason they would not put in the copyright date or the print year, like for some of these books. I don't know why. So that is something that I actually do use sometimes. It's like, okay, this book looks roughly this age, so I'm going to assume with good reason that it's from roughly this time. And you can go on